Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining. We'll just wait for a couple of minutes for others to join and we'll start the session soon. Thank you. Hello, everyone. A very good afternoon to all. Thank you for your patience. For those who are attending our webinar for the first time, Signet Digital is a technology company of offering a wide range of solutions, including tax and finance transformations, digital engineering, application modernizing, quality engineering, data analytics, AI, and much more. Our topic for today is tax transformation beyond compliance. So, while compliance is something that is given, let's understand through this webinar how leveraging technology can drive business efficiency, mitigate risks, and contribute to overall business strategy. Without further ado, let me introduce you to Akash Chaudhary, AVP Products at Signet Digital, who shall further take this ahead. And let's make this webinar a little more interactive. Please feel free to drop your questions in the chat box during the webinar, and we'll make sure to address it towards the end of the webinar. Yeah, over to you, Akash.
Thanks, Akshita. Thank you for the introduction. And a very warm welcome to all our attendees. And a very good afternoon to everyone who is joining us from KSA as well as UAE. And today, the agenda for me to discuss about it's primarily about the text transformation and what should be the digital transformation look like for a CFO or a financial function person. And we will be talking about what's happening onto the tax domain as in general, plus not limiting myself to tax domain. We will also talk about the other finance processes such as purchase. I guess that's the other most important process in the whole financial domain, where there is a lot of leverage of digitization can be done, and which can give a good benefit and reap in more benefits to the overall company and the efficiency improvement. Let me quickly share across my slide deck, where we'll be going through what are the ideal steps that one should take in order to reach the ideal technology or technology transformation roadmap, so to create. Now, before we jump and start on our discussion, I have a quick poll question, which I would like to ask from the prioritization perspective of what would you like to do, or what's the motivation or objective behind whenever you are undertaking any particular digital transformation project as a whole. I hope the poll is visible. All right, I think we have got enough votes. Just to highlight what I've seen is almost 67% has been voting for efficiency enhancement, and 33 about compliance and security. I even saw a few vote for the cost optimization, but yeah, I think mostly it is about efficiency enhancement, and hence it's more about that. And second is compliance and security. And I think the prioritization is very clear, and that's how it should be. So your efficiency improvement and all the tidying up of your source systems data and the reporting and processes should go hand in hand with the compliance and security as well. Compliance, because we are working day in day out with tax authorities, irrespective of the geographies our operations are, we have to follow and adhere to the compliance which are out there. Let me move to the next one. Now, when we talk about the overall transformation, whether we call it as a text transformation or we call it I personally call it a finance process transformation, it is more about ensuring whatever information there is, the data which is out there is cleaned up. By clean, what I mean is it is validated as per the authorities and as per the compliance requirement. It is available whenever you want to do it. So cleaning, validation, and availability, and having it as a single source of truth. So all your information related to, let's say, your sales, your purchase, your GL, your revenue reconciliations, your adjustments, your imports and exports, all those information, all those transactions, setting up at a central location which is validated as per the compliance rules would technically mean everything is aligned. Now, why am I showing you this Marie Kondo concept for this? It is more about, so you already have all the information, but it is scattered across. As soon as you start transforming it into a specific format, into a specific way of approach, and start putting it all together, the tidying up helps you uh, retrieve the data whenever needed. And that retrieval is very important for audit readiness or even for your inside MIS reporting. So what happens is not any short of a magic. as a part of this whole transformation. Now, talking further about the transformation, what I would like to highlight is for a complete finance ecosystem, we have seen there are source system. So you would be having your e-commerce marketplace, you will be having your ERPs, you'll be having your if you're operating in multiple countries, there will be global ERP which is being used centrally, and then you'll be doing data generation for your particular location where you are doing. So you'll be generating some reports. You have your transactions, so like invoice and all of that. Then you might even do some manual entries. So that's where the data is getting generated. So into these source systems, there are multiple activities that your users are doing, whether it is your day-to-day business users, whether they are your MIS user, your tax teams. They are generating data on top of these systems, and then this information is getting reported. So the reporting would be local VAT returns, e-invoicing, reporting to external parties, reporting to corporate tax, and all of that. Along with that, it is more about having the GL reconciliation system as a whole. Now, right now, all this information is there, they are interlinked. But if you look at it and if you have to extract anything, it is all going one system to the other. And if you have to even replace one block in it, it will be a challenge. If, let's say, if you have if a legacy ERP and you want to upgrade it, it is going to be a challenge to just do that. Now, what is the end goal, or what we want to try and do here? What we try and do here is, let's try and centralize as much data as possible. So what we have is ensuring these systems all talk to each other rather than being operating in silos and giving the information just as a part of a one-off process, rather than having all the data and processing and validation as a part of the core system itself. So what it means is all the systems which are source system and your local APIs and your authorities data are connected. Plus, whatever data generation are being done by tax teams and users, they are all happening through an API and a bot, and there are a lot of different mediums of integration. We ideally support API and file based. For some cases, there are even bots, such as if you have to pull information from, let's say, customs website where the import data is available. So there are multiple mediums available into the market to get the data. It's not about technical challenge. It is more about an approach challenge, or a roadmap challenge of where we want to get to as a IT landscape into the whole finance ecosystem. What will happen once you start doing this all together? All the layers which are needed, right from your reporting to your accounting application, your region specific information, compliances, and all of that, they will become into a single streamlined structure, having data common across it. So irrespective of which system you're accessing, whatever data you're trying to retrieve, you will be retrieving the data from a single source of truth, rather than trying to marry data from two systems, combining it manually through Excels, and then generating the report that you want to do. And that's how we reach to a single source of truth of information as a whole. So all these systems talking to a single data warehouse. Now, this is where you will have your transactions. This is where you will have all your reconciliations running in. And then, irrespective of what authorities are asking for you from a data perspective, you will have that handy. Moving further, I'll have a quick poll before we talk more detail about how to achieve it. Let me have a quick poll. The objective of this poll is to ensure that, okay, whenever you are looking at any vendor automation, purchase automation, any workflow digitization, what are you trying to do out there? Are you just looking at digitizing it? Because digitizing is a bit different than transformation, where digitizing is just that if I'll start storing my invoices in a scanned copy for digital archiving, that would become part of my digitization journey. Whereas if I implement a complete end-to-end OCR application where my vendors are uploading information onto an IDP and then there is taking it further, it is like transforming my whole business process. So if you have a lot of manual processes, it makes a lot of sense to look at what can be transformed and then look for tools which can do that transformation. The poll results that I'm looking at is quite, I would say, on aligned with the goals that we have got. So what I see is a lot of you are already actively assessing vendors for like how do we do the whole digitization, and there are a lot of challenges with the current manual processes which you are managing, and hence it makes sense to have this aligned with your transformation goal. Yeah. Let me move forward now. Since we are talking more about the finance domain, what I would like to highlight is CFO no longer stands for Chief Financial Officer, but it is more about being the Chief Future Officer, where it's no longer that your IT team will be responsible for your digitization, for your transformation, IT transformation roadmaps. CFOs are equally required to be part of that whole roadmap, the whole journey of transforming their business processes, because the finance processes are the most important part of the overall business, and nobody knows it better than a CFO. Compliance is generally the mandate. So, irrespective of wherever you are operating, you have to ensure that you are adhering to the compliances. But if we are going to aim for a total tax transformation, we are going to move one step closer to, okay, how do we achieve it? And we'll be always along or aligned with the tax authorities, because generally and frankly what's happening is earlier the tax authorities were digitization or digitally maybe at scale 2, and organizations were at scale 4. But in last few years the authorities have just jumped to like scale 7 and 8, where the corporates are still at level 5 and 6. So there's a lot of catch up that the corporates and the businesses have to do to be aligned with the authorities, because they have a lot of data coming in, they have a lot of analytics going on, and they can ask questions and they can do audits, which corporates are not prepared for unless the digitization or the transformation journey at the business end are also aligned to them. And that's where everyone should start planning out their next year's roadmap for their own business process transformation, also known as BPT. And that's where things like your purchase digitization or your return digitization, your e-invoicing, and even like let's say vendor cleanup, in your ERP updates, all those would fall under that umbrella. This is what a typical sales and purchase journey or a flow looks like for any particular given company. I'm not going to explain you. You know this better than me. That okay, there will be generally from a purchase perspective. Generally, there is an RFQ and then there is a PO. Your vendors will be uploading invoices against those POs. There will be RECO happening. There will be a GRN, and if there are any gaps, you will be having debit notes, credit notes, depending upon what has happened. And then the final, all this information are posted within the ERP. Similarly for the sales part as well. And what we recommend digitizing the whole flow is, from for the purchase perspective, what we see is your vendors, or all your vendors, have you ensured that all the information that you have within your ERP for those vendors is correct? By correct, I mean, is it validated? So whether it is the tax registration number or the business registration number, and even the corporate registration, all those information, and any other due diligence which you would have manually done, when was it last expired, when was it checked, So ensuring that your vendor ecosystem, your purchase ecosystem is first, the core, which is having a clean vendor system, having automation around that is very important. Plus, once the vendor is onboarded and once the vendor is clean, the next step is to ensure your purchase process, right from how the invoices are getting collected to how the POs are getting rolled out, the RFQs, the reconciliation between your invoice, PO, and GRN, all that is automated. And then you have your real-time reporting ready in case of any need from a purchase perspective as well. So if you are in a refundable position, if you have to submit your purchase transactions to authorities, from this perspective, you will have all your purchases streamlined into a central location. And onto the sales front, similar approaches there, where you will have your ERPs and then data is getting extracted, it is getting validated. And then finally, once the reconciliation is good, you then submit your returns to the authorities. So e-invoicing, your VAT return automation, reconciliation, all become part of the sales function or the sales side of things. Now let's talk about the most important, or let's say, a phenomena which is going in GCC countries. So KSA is already live. We have now almost 9 days been declared. The wave three is going live on 31st of January. So it's there, and the other countries are going to follow the same. And we have heard that UAE, Bahrain, all these countries are now rolling out their e-invoicing framework. And why you should be worried about e-invoicing? Well, if you have multiple source systems, if you have different business lines, if you have operations right across multiple places, you have retail, you are into manufacturing. So all those things, to ensure that all your invoices are getting centralized and are being pushed across to the authority, is a worrisome approach, or a worrisome challenge for a business. Now, what should be done? Ideally, what we say is, irrespective of the number of source systems you have, let's say you have your core ERP, SAP, Oracle, MS Dynamics, any of those. You might even have few of POS systems if you are into retail or FMCG, or any of those where your B2C transactions are also there. So for both of them, it is important that all these systems are connected to a central solution. Look out for middlewares, like we offer one, or there are multiple into the market, where these middlewares can connect to your ERPs, can sit on top of it and do all these things. By all these things mean getting the data validated, generating UUID, the hash, the XML. So there is a lot of technical details which are needed for generate a compliant e-invoice, and these middlewares would help you do that. And these are also connected to the tax authorities. The flow or the information that I have on the screen is for KSA invoicing. So we have Zatka as the authority there, and the UUID, sequencing of the invoice, having the cryptographic stamp, the PDF A3 format. So there are a lot of these technical elements which were supposed to be addressed. Which, if you try and do it into ERP, that would mean that you have to update, or you have to do changes in your ERP for every country where your business is. Secondly, these changes from the authorities are coming in from time to time. So if we do some changes today, if we prepare our system to be linked to the authorities today, chances are for initial couple of years there are going to be updates from the authority every few months or every few weeks, and it will become a continuous exercise for you to ensure that, okay, you are constantly changing your ERP to be connected to the authorities. And since ERP is a business critical application, we wouldn't recommend you doing changes within your ERP. It is always recommended to go with a third party middleware and just have that as a compliance middleware in between the authority and your core business system. Feel free to drop in any questions if you have regarding the whole flow from an e-invoicing perspective. And especially this will be more interest of businesses who have a lot of e-invoicing for B2C. So whenever we see B2C, it is POS and your stores are spread across multiple location. There could be connectivity issues, and just imagine a long queue of customers just lined up because the system is not able to generate e-invoice, or the system has is latency issues are higher, and we are not able to generate the invoice. So that's where the offline solutions come into picture. So we have an offline utility which can connect to your POS applications, generate the invoice, e-invoice there and there. So there's no internet dependency, no latency, And once the internet and the connectivities are streamlined, all those get synced and are sent across to the tax authorities accordingly. So it becomes a completely streamlined approach where we have taken care of your B2B transaction as well as your B2C transaction, and all this information is going to a central middleware. So in case in future you have to download any PDF which is previously generated e-invoice, you have a single portal, a single location where you can come and generate that information from. Moving further about is the other important element for our CFO domain, which is the VAT compliance. Now, VAT has been around for almost 5 years now. It came in the year 2018, and it created a lot of buzz around the uncertainty that it brought to the geography. But now most of the processes are streamlined. When I say most of the processes are streamlined, say you know your know what your business you're doing, what applications of VAT are there, and what should be the treatment and all of that. But yet, if there is any audit, there are challenges for the businesses to submit the required information. Today, also, there is a lot of manual Excel working that we have seen. That there's no transaction level details, even for some of the authority companies, where only the header information, like the invoice headers, are used to prepare the VAT return. Because the submission to the authorities is at a summary level or at a header level, we don't take the effort or the pain to go to the line level details, especially in case of if the transaction volume is too high, or there are a lot of pause transactions which are just getting summarized and then need to be submitted. But the transaction level details are needed in case there is any audit or in case there is any further inputs required onto that part. And even for the validation purposes, how do we ensure that all the treatment of VAT is done right without actually knowing the transaction details? And secondly, the processes which are out there have a bit of automation, but it has a lot of manual intervention and manual working going in place as well. So that will slow down the overall digitization journey, because there's always someone downloading Excel, doing the operations, doing the manipulations, and then preparing the final return. If that particular adjustment Excel or that person is not available, then there is a chance of missing the information, or missing the details which are required to be submitted in case of an audit. And again, it requires a lot of manual working to do the reconciliation, whether we talk about your GL reconciliation or revenue reconciliation, even the foreign currency transactions and all of that. And what we have tried to address here is again going with the same philosophy of not changing your ERP, because that's your core business application. We don't want it to be modified. But what we want is, let's have a middleware in between which can actually do all of these information churning and collection and validation. So the things which I was talking about at the start of my presentation, of ensuring that the things are at a single source of truth. The data is residing at a single location, it is well validated, and is converted into the right format. That's our starting point. So we connect to your ERP, we connect to your invoicing tools, AR systems, and then whatever data is getting collected, we convert it into the right format which the authorities are willing to accept. Let's say in UAE, it will be the FTA audit file, FAF in short. There is even a refund report which FTA generally circulates in case you want to get refund of your VAT return. And secondly, more about having a central format of all your transactions, so that they can be validated against all the different rules related to, let's say, reverse charge and tax applications, and the tax rates which are getting being used, and then moving these transactions for the final VAT preparation. This all is happening in a single middleware. So you have your VAT being getting prepared, you have your reconciliations being taken care of automatically. So your GL reconciliation, your import export reconciliation, foreign exchange and apportionment as well, including your apportionment may be related to, let's say, your floor area space, or your annual apportionment which you are doing just to ensure you don't have to pay any further VAT onto the previous apportionments. All of that the system will be able to help you automate, and that reduces a lot of burden over the VAT teams which are working through the deadline to ensure that okay, they have all the information, plus it is valid and being compliant and being accurate. So that's lastly is about connecting with the tax authorities. So what we have seen is right now all of that is happening manually. But since we are seeing a lot of e-invoicing space being getting triggered, we also see the return application or return submission will also be moving to API and automated approach basis, and that would help. If a middleware is there, it means all your information is completely digitally linked. There is no manual intervention. There is always a digital link for you to highlight in case of any discrepancies, any audits, everything. So your data is always having a digital audit trail ready for audits. I'm doing a double click onto a few of the reconciliations that we talked about. Let's say for your GL reconciliation. Now, GL is more about ensuring whether the soundproof of the return that you prepared is correct or not. But most of the businesses I've seen only do their VAT GL reconciliation. They will only reconcile their VAT amounts, but not the actual revenue. So it is very important to have their revenue reconciliation as well. And such automation system, such digitization and transformation would help them do it through a less of a painful manual process and automate it to the next level. Same goes for the foreign exchange and the apportionment, where we have seen it is more about ensuring that all the numbers are there and it is correctly getting apportioned. And lastly, about the import and export. So if you are heavy onto the import and export functions, what it would mean is data needs to be downloaded from Dubai Customs or the other Emirates Customs portal. It needs to be reconciled with your books, and since we do not have any common identification, like the invoice number is not available onto the customs portal, we need to rely on the custom declaration number, and that provisioning we have done so that through custom declaration number the system is able to highlight that okay, all these transactions are available on both sides, or whether it is available only on the custom portal or only in your ERP, and accordingly you can take decision on what adjustments you have to make onto the box 6. Onto the audit readiness, what we would like to highlight is we have seen that more and more audits have started happening into the region, and the data which these guys request are primarily around your AR, AP, and GL. So all your transactions, including your imports and exports, they all need to be submitted. Now, we always recommend that since the FF file is not ready for most of the businesses, they have to do this exercise manually. And ideally, how the flow should be once the return is getting prepared, the FF file should always be there as a backup. In case FTA is looking for an audit file, FTA is looking for any further information, you have the file ready to be submitted. And going forward, we are also anticipating that there could be a chance that the transaction related information could be requested to be submitted along with the VAT returns. And having such things, having such audit files and backup files for each of the returns through a system will not just help you to be audit ready, but will even help you into the final submission to the tax authorities of the return and other information. Lastly, I will want to talk about the most important process, which is the whole end-to-end purchase, and how you should look at digitizing it, or how it should be transformed rather, because that's the end goal. We just don't want to digitize a manual process directly to a digital process by adding a few elements, but we should rather look at how the overall process is and what all process can be transformed, and their IT and technology can be leveraged to digitize and transform that process and make it more efficient, at the same time make it more compliant for your business as you grow. Right now, the purchase digitization that you would be following would be somewhere in the lines of where you are having interaction with your vendor. So you have your ERP, where all your RFQs and RPOs are managed, and those have been communicated across to the vendors. And then vendor are sending across goods or services, and then along with it, the invoices are flowing in. There is a manual verification of the invoice, and then further it is getting posted, and then there will be a manual approval workflow which might trigger up for, let's say, a particular vendor A. These are the three invoices of this vendor. Let us just approve and initiate the payment process. Ideally, that's how the manual process goes in. Now, through transformation or through digitization, what we are looking at is, let's start and do a vendor onboarding. By vendor onboarding, what I mean is, we don't want to create new vendors in your ERP which are already there, but just to ensure the vendors which are already there are validated, are having the right information. And secondly, any new vendors which are coming in follow a streamlined process. Maybe COVID taught us how the digital KYC happens, and it's just part of that. So it is similar to your digital KYC, where your vendor is putting in few details, uploading few documents, and if the APIs are available, those documents are automatically validated as well. So that takes away a lot of manual effort of someone trying to manually check the information that the vendor is onboarding. So from that vendor onboarding and vendor cleanup perspective, that becomes your first step. And then it is more about having those one vendors onboarded onto a vendor portal. You might already have a vendor portal, or you might be looking out into the market to have or purchase a new vendor portal. And what should be the function of that vendor portal is it should always support all the invoice collection options. By invoice collection, what I mean is your invoice collection can happen through 3 4 different channels, where your supplier is sending across a manual PDF copy through to your front desk or to your store. So the user out there should be able to upload it, scan that particular copy, and the scanned copy can be directly uploaded onto the vendor portal, or through scanner, a bot can pick it up, the scanned copy, and submit it to the vendor post box. Second is more about an API, where the API can be directly connected to your vendor's ERP, which is not the preferred approach for most of the businesses. And third is more about the vendor themselves coming in and uploading the information onto the vendor portal against the PO which they have received from your end. So that streamlines, and that gives a very good visibility to the vendor himself, that he is able to upload invoices against those POs and can actually see what all information is extracted. So there is an OCR process, and the extracted invoices they are able to submit into the vendor portal for further approval. That gives them visibility and gives a transparency across both parties on what is happening with the invoice that they have submitted. Fourth option is also about having an email inbox. So the vendors, if they are not very technically sound, where they are not even ready to upload, log in and upload, they can just send the copy onto, let's say, purchases at the xyz.com, and from that inbox, the bot can pick up and submit the information, the file to the main post box. And that's where the IDP OCR is happening, which is an AI/ML based OCR. So what it will do is, depending upon the layouts and templates, extract the right information. And it is not just extraction; it is also ensuring that it is compliant. So let's say it's a tax invoice, all the TRN should be there. If it is region is KSA, there should be a QR code for that particular invoice because it is an e-invoice. The verification of that QR code is very important. So all of that happening automatically, and then once the invoice is valid, then it is pushed for the reconciliation. By reconciliation, what I would mean is, this application, the vendor postbox, will also sync your POs and GRNs from your ERP. So you have a single portal where your purchase team can come in and review your invoice, PO, and GRN into a single location. If they all are reconciling and aligned, you have the final data which can be submitted across into the ERP. And if there are any gaps, you are able to communicate with your vendor there and there itself, including if there are any gaps into the IDP OCR validation. So in step 4, where we can see, oh, there's a lot of IDP happening, the vendor is able to see there and there only if their invoice is incorrect. I know this slide might look quite clumsy and complicated. Drop in any questions if you have to, and we will be happy to have a one-on-one session to have in-depth review, because this digitization, purchase digitization, or as we say, invoice journey, is a very critical process. And if, as an organization, you are able to digitize it, the benefits for this is quite high, right from your business efficiency improvement to your compliance to ensuring that you have got all your information centralized and ready. Moving further, we have taken the overall P2P to one step further. By P2P, I mean from procure to pay. We are doing edge to edge, host to host as well. So you have got your purchase digitization journey done when the data is getting submitted into the ERP. The next step is, of course, to even digitize the payment process. So what it helps you do is the invoice approval workflow, which you are maybe manually triggering right now, where the payment file or the payment information of a particular vendor along with the invoices are there, and then all the supporting invoices with the supporting documents. It becomes like a full clumsy file, which is then circulated across the office for the approval. Getting that digitized will not only ensure that you have more efficient business process and traceable business process, but will also improve your vendor relationships, because the approval flow, which maybe today takes a few days, will be reduced to a few hours, and you'll be able to make payments to your vendor that much faster. That brings us to the next poll question we would like to ask about is, I can see a balance of 50-50 between the vendor cleanup or the master cleanup exercise. And I would say those who have said no, I would really want to understand if the vendor masters and the product master, etc., masters within the org are very well defined or not. Because ideally, over the past half a decade, what we have seen across the CC region is 50% of the issues are always linked to the master data. Maybe they are having incorrect information into the master of the vendors, customers, location. It is not just limited to a TRN. The master information goes one step further, where you need to ensure the location and the country that you're maintaining for a particular vendor is aligned. Even the banking information. Imagine doing a digitization journey or a transformation where your master data is incorrect. That can just hamper your whole digitization journey and even lead to risk of maybe doing incorrect data and pushing incorrect information to a different person than what you anticipated. So that's why I would strongly recommend for those who are not yet prioritized it, to at least start reviewing the master data, getting those information out, and then there are a lot of companies into the market which will help you do the vendor onboarding cleanup, master data cleanup, managed services. Multiple approaches are available to help you do that and automate that side of business. Moving further, we would also like to highlight that the three critical processes that I talked about e-invoicing, the VAT automation, and the purchase digitization, are not just linked to a standard solution. What we have seen is the whole digital transformation needs to have a connected ecosystem where all your solutions, whether we are talking about ERP or POS, or let's say your GRN systems, etc., should be integrated and connected to each other. And that's where the power of integration comes into picture. That's where the connected ecosystem plays a very important part to ensure the data is flowing into the right direction, the data is centralized, and you have a single source of truth, which I've been reiterating again and again throughout my discussion, which is very important for any of your further digitization projects to be onboarded and to continue. Secondly, is I would like to emphasize about how the cloud adaptation is going, because more and more companies are now moving from the on-premises ERP to cloud. We have seen SAP moving to HANA, and same goes for Oracle, from Oracle EBS to Fusion. And for next 3 to 4 years, that's where the roadmap should be. So ERP migration to cloud, if not done already, should be part of your digitization and transformation roadmap for next couple of years, along with the supporting applications or the supporting middlewares to help you ensure that while the transition is happening, your business and your data is still compliant and you are having the right information getting submitted. Thirdly, focusing more on the emerging technologies. And when we talk about emerging technologies, the few that come to our mind instantly is about AI, blockchain, metaverse. And through AI, what we have seen is it is very powerful as long as we use it into the right direction. Let's say one of the examples which I was talking about was AI based OCR. So what that has helped us do is through maybe 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 invoices, we are able to train the engine such that you don't have to do templatization. You don't have to do, it is not just, the OCR is not limited to a few set of templates. Even if you throw a new invoice copy to it, it is able to read and generate the data which is required through accuracies beyond 95%. So for an OCR to have an accuracy above 95% is a great achievement given the technology advancement we have seen. And similarly, using blockchain to store that data, to ensure the data is secure, and to do further digitization. Let's say you are sending an invoice for digital signature. Ideally, the recommended approach should be have a digital signature. All that information should be embedded onto a blockchain, and that would ensure that your DMS, your contracts, your invoices, all those are into a secure environment, and you don't have to worry about the security perspective as such. And lastly, about the cloud frameworks as well, just a part of it. Whether you are going with a multi-cloud or a single cloud, always have the approach or the way forward where you have contemplated how do you ensure that your cloud infrastructure is up to the mark. And further to that, I would like to highlight about, give a quick introduction about Signet, what Akshita was initially talking about, that we are a technology service company and we have been almost 23-year-old, or as we say, 23-year young organization. We have more than 1,200 employees, and we have got offices spread across 11 locations or countries across the globe. So we even have office within UAE in Dubai. We have office in South Africa, in Australia, and US and Europe as well. And that helps us to serve our clients within those geographies. And these finance transformation products and the solutions that we talked about, it is not just limited to Middle East. If there are challenges related to the finance transformation within, let's say, your geography of Europe, we have offering there as well to help you do that. And e-invoicing is a global phenomena, and so is our application. So our e-invoicing application not only serves India and Middle East, but it is available for all across the globe, starting Middle East, Europe, Australia. So with People Framework, it has given us the leverage to ensure that we are able to bifurcate and serve our customers for e-invoicing across the globe. That was pretty much it from my end. It was lovely to talk to all of you. Now, feel free to drop in all your questions, and we'll be happy to take those. All right. So I think I have one question where it is more about asking how do we ensure that this connected ecosystem stays up and live and the data is securely transformed across the system? Well, it all depends upon your IT ecosystem and IT infrastructure of how things are laid out and what all information you have. So first and foremost is do identification of all your source systems, whether it is ERP or your billing solution. You have your data sorted across, and then you do the streamlining. So what we have seen is once you have listed all your source systems, you are able to better judge what information should be captured from which source system. To give you an example, let's say you have got a POS and then an ERP. The data from the POS to ERP syncing, maybe it's a nightly job, and a summarized information is getting posted. Now, instead of, if we consider ERP as a single source of truth, it won't work because your data from your POS is coming at a summary level. You won't be able to ever judge what all detailed transaction that has happened. So there you identified all those POS systems, let's say Sentinel, Gumnet. Depending upon what business you are doing, there will be multiple source systems out there, POS systems out there as well. If you are into, let's say, hotel business, Micros, POS, Opera, they become like the source system, and the reports which are coming out from those systems is not always useful. So doing the extraction from there, and then doing the transformation and conversion of that data, and then running all the validations, that helps us do all of that. So if I go back to my original slide, I don't move the slides, but if you remember, there was a tower of text data warehouse. That's the warehouse that you want to create. Get data from all your source systems, whether it is a POS, whether it is a hotel management system, whether it is a premise management system, and then do any validations on top of it. The next question is about UAE invoicing. Well, the dates, even though there is official announcement, excuse me, that from 1st of January 2025, the invoicing should be rolled out, whether they want to do it in phases or whether they want to do like a big bang approach. The government hasn't commented on that, but they have taken the deadline in their mind. And the impact of that, if we go in the reverse order onto the business, is very high. We have seen that whole journey in KSA when the phase one was announced in 2021, and now we are in 2023 with phase two, and businesses are still facing challenges. And I think we should learn from those experiences and ensure that all your systems, all your source systems, your business process are aligned such that you don't face any challenges for the upcoming e-invoicing which is coming in. I think let us leave it to that. We have got a couple of more questions. What we will do is we will revert back to all of you. And before we move away, let us have a final poll question. We will be arranging a one-on-one demo if in case needed. So you can just choose the application or the solution which is getting more aligned towards your business process, and then we can take it forward from there.
Thank you so much, everyone, for your time. Thank you, Akash. Um, I really hope this session was insightful for you, and we are always there to help if you want to actually transform tax in the upcoming year, 2024. And thank you again for your time. Wish you a very happy new year and happy holidays, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much for joining. Have a happy new year. Bye bye.